Welcoming the President and CEO of the YMCA of Greater New York, Sharon Greenberger. Speaker, Carl Hastie. Leader, Andrea Stewart-Cousins. Attorney General, Letitia James. The Mayor of Buffalo, Byron Brown. Trinell Gabby. Representative Jamal Bowman. And please join me in welcoming the 57th Governor of the great state of New York, Governor Kathy Hochul.
Good morning. Again, I'm Sharon Greenberger, President and CEO of the YMCA of Greater New York. Thank you for joining us at the most beautiful Northeast Bronx Y, our New York City's newest branch. Yes, we're honored to have you here. This is a truly historic day for our state, and we thank you for being here with us. We're honored to have so many elected officials and advocates joining us this morning whom I'd like to recognize. So please hold your applause until I've acknowledged everyone. Speaker Carl Hastie, Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins, Attorney General Tish James, Lieutenant Governor Antonio Delgado, Congressman Jamal Bowman, Congressman Member Kevin Riley, Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney, Borough President Vanessa Gibson, DA Darcel Clark, DA Melinda Katz, DA Alvin Bragg, Westchester County Exec George Latimer, Westchester DA Mimi Roca, New Yorkers Against Gun Violence, the Brady Campaign, Moms Demand Action, Everytown, Shaquan Hunt, the Carrie Gabay Fellow in the Executive Chamber, and many other dedicated elected officials and advocates who are here today. Thank you again for joining us. And now I am so honored to welcome to the podium the 57th Governor of the State of New York, and the first woman to hold the seat, Governor Kathy Hochul.
Thank you, Sharon Greenberger, for welcoming us once again. This is a phenomenal community place of gathering, a place where we hope that young people will have the influences they need to have better outcomes in their lives, a safer, more productive future. So thank you and the whole team here at the Y. I do want to acknowledge a number of individuals, starting with my Lieutenant Governor, Antonio Delgado. Let's give him a round of applause. Our Attorney General, Letitia James, has joined us. You'll be hearing from her. And two extraordinary leaders who've been my partner in Albany, and what they're able to accomplish literally in the final days of this session will transform the lives of New Yorkers and keep them alive, literally, because of your efforts here. So I want to give a special shout out to the Majority Leader, Andrea Stewart-Cousins. And the Bronx's own Speaker Carl Hastie has joined us. Senator Jamal Bailey has joined us, his home turf here as well as Senator. I also want to recognize a contingent of individuals who traveled here early this morning. And this is deeply personal to them. These are my friends, my neighbors back in Buffalo, and I thank them for being incredible leaders at a time when their state needed it. And I'm referring to Senator Tim Kennedy, Senator Sean Ryan, and Mayor Byron Brown. Thank you. Thank you for coming here today. And Trinell Gabay, the widow of Carrie Gabay, I want to thank her for having the courage to harness your loss and your pain into a movement toward change. So thank you for being on the front lines of this. Trinell Gabay, the widow of Carrie Gabay, is with us here today. Also locally, we are in the borough of the Bronx. Anybody here from the Bronx? Oh, yeah. Borough President Vanessa Gibson has joined us here. Our district attorney, Darcel Clark, along with the other district attorneys. Councilmember Kevin Riley has joined us. And a little bit of out district, but still a powerhouse in her own right, is Carolyn Maloney. Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney has joined us. I'm speaking to you today as the governor of a state in mourning and the citizen of a nation in crisis. For over the past few weeks, we've been overcome by grief, by heartache, by anger. First of all, 10 of our brothers and sisters in my hometown were senselessly slaughtered while grocery shopping at a place called Tops Friendly Markets, targeted by a white supremacist, literally because of the color of their skin. His words, not mine. And yet, before these wounds even had a chance to heal, more news, more headlines about the slaughter of 19 babies in grade school and 2 teachers at an elementary school in Uvalde. So we're grappling with these twin tragedies. We're constantly reminded of the scale of this across the nation. Just days ago, 4 people killed at a hospital in Tulsa. This weekend, 3 people killed, 11 wounded in Philadelphia as gunmen fired into a crowd in a bustling entertainment district. It just keeps happening. Shots ring out, flags come down, and nothing ever changes. Except here in New York. In New York, we are taking bold, strong action. We're tightening the red flag laws to keep guns away from dangerous people. And we're raising the age of semi-automatic weapons so no 18-year-old can walk in on their birthday and walk out with an AR-15. Those days are over. Those days are over. You hear that? Those days are over. And we're micro-stamping bullets so law enforcement can have an easier time catching the criminals. And we're closing loopholes so the firearms that are being so cleverly manufactured or altered cannot evade our laws anymore. There's more to do. Thoughts and prayers won't fix this, but taking strong action will. And we'll do that in the name of the lives that have been lost, for the parents who will no longer see children stepping off a school bus, spouses won't see their husband and wife coming back from the grocery store. The lives have been altered forever because just too many families have been destroyed, shattered, because of targeted gun violence, but also the random gun violence that occurs on our streets every single day. It just keeps happening over and over and over. And I have to ask, when do we become a nation that reveres the right to have the ability to possess a gun over the right of a child to stay alive? When did that happen? When will we as a nation say, enough of the bloodshed, no more, no more? Gun violence is a disease that is tearing our nation apart, and it is now the #1 killer of children in America. How do we look at ourselves in the mirror every morning and not take action to protect these innocent children? For 60 years, car accidents were the #1 cause of death of children. That was not okay with us, so we took action. We passed laws. We made cars safer. We mandated seat belts. Yeah, we took away the freedom to ride in a car without a seatbelt. It was a very big deal when it happened. But people adapt. They got used to it. And guess what? We saved the lives of thousands of children. So it was clearly worth it. And now guns are the leading cause of their death. We know what we have to do. And this is a crisis the scale of which requires a national response at the federal level and from each and every state. But here in New York, we don't wait. We lead. We've already have the strongest laws in the nation, but even that's not enough. Because when we see loopholes, we close them. When we see laws that need to be strengthened, we strengthen them. And if anyone tries to evade our laws, we stop them, because this is a moment of reckoning for us as New Yorkers and as Americans. History will judge us by how we respond, how we meet this moment, by whether we did everything in our power to keep these guns off the streets and out of the hands of criminals. And I'm so proud to be here today, so proud to sign a package of transformative bills passed by my colleagues and the leaders in the legislature. I'm so grateful for them. And as a result, I'm going to mention these 10 bills. Number one, no longer will an 18-year-old be able to purchase a semi-automatic weapon. We're requiring a permit to purchase that and raising the age to 21. Thank you, Senator Kevin Thomas and Member Assembly Chantel Jackson. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Number two, no longer will the threat of causing mass harm to others go unpunished. Thank you, Senator Todd Kaminsky. Thank you, Assemblymember Monica Wallace. No longer will large-scale ammunition magazines be legal in the state of New York. Thank you, Senator Brad Hoylman. And thank you, Assemblymember Majority Leader of the Assembly, Crystal Peoples-Stokes. Thank you. No longer will we allow the sale of body vests and armor to those who don't need them for work. Thank you, Senator Brian Kavanaugh. Thank you, Jonathan Jacobson. And will now require data sharing and reporting by law enforcement to state and federal databases. Believe it or not, that wasn't happening before. Thank you, Senator Kavanaugh. Thank you, Assemblymember Amy Paulin. And as I mentioned, we're going to require semi-automatic pistols to be microstabbed to help police solve the crimes. Thank you, Senator Hoylman, and thank you, Assemblymember Rosenthal. And in the state of New York, we're now requiring social media networks to monitor and report hateful conduct on their platforms. Thank you, Senator Anna Kaplan, and thank you, Assemblymember Patricia Fahey. And now we're going to continue focusing on this. We're going to establish a task force on social media and violent extremism to investigate the role of social media in promoting domestic terror. And our great leader, our Attorney General, will be championing this cause with every power her office can bring it at their disposal. Thank you, Senator Jamal Bailey, and Senator Assemblymember Desmond Meeks. Thank you. And just as I did by executive action within days of the Buffalo shooting, we are by law making our red flag laws even stronger. Thank you, Senator Skoufis, and thank you, Kevin Cahill, Assemblymember. And finally, just for all those manufacturers and criminals who think you can get a step ahead of us, we are amending the definition of firearms to include what they call AOWs, any other weapons. We've got it all covered, my friends. Thank you, Senator Sepulveda, and thank you, Kennedy Burgos. Thank you. So I am so grateful, not just that we got this done, but the speed at which you got this done. No state has ever responded with the sense of urgency that has been on display over the last week and a half. As legislators looked at our ideas and had their ideas, and we worked together nonstop around the clock, and they literally got this done in record time. And this package of bills is going to allow us to take direct action here in the state of New York. This is a multifaceted problem. It requires a multifaceted approach. So we're continuing through our budget to invest in prevention. Invest in prevention. That's how you beat this at the front end. To take away the environment and the influences on young people where they head off into this path. Strengthening our laws so to keep up with the criminals, get ahead of the criminals who break them, but also partnering at the community level in places like this to ferret out the root causes of why people do turn to crime. And while we're doing all of this, we have one primary objective, and that is to keep New Yorkers safe. It's as simple as that. Our job is to keep New Yorkers safe. So as we continue to fight gun violence, we're going to keep the pressure on in Congress. Many of our members from the New York delegation have already done the right thing, but we need them to provide a national response. And maybe it takes a few of those whose hearts are hardened to the images on television of children crying because they saw their classmates gunned down right next to them. Maybe it takes them to travel and actually go to one of their funerals. Because if that won't soften your hard heart, I don't know what will, and heaven help you. Heaven help you if you can look at those images and not have a change of heart and say, I'm in a position of authority and power and influence, and I have a moral responsibility to do something. Let's get together and have thoughts and prayers for them, that their hearts will finally turn. These shootings are a wake-up call for this country, and we need other states to follow their lead. So I'm going to be signing these bills in a matter of moments with fellow New Yorkers, the victims of the daily gun violence in places like the Bronx, and Brooklyn, and Queens, and Rochester, Syracuse, but also with the images of 10 of my neighbors from Buffalo, whose faces we will never forget. And we'll never forget them. We'll never forget the children and the brave teachers in Uvalde, Tulsa, anywhere else. If no one else will lead. This is New York. That's what we do best. We do lead, and they will not have died in vain. We will not grow complacent. We will not grow numb. Will not tolerate inaction and be content any longer. I'm a person of faith. My faith tells me that after I bow my head, we get to work. Today is a start. It's a start, and it's not the end. I will not rest until everything we can do in our power has been done to keep our kids, our families, our citizens safe. That is my commitment to you as we go forth from here. Let's sign some bills after you hear from great leaders. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, my friend.
Please welcome to the podium Speaker Carl Hastie.
Thank you to everyone for being here today in the Bronx to recognize the gun control measures that we're about to pass into law. I want to thank my partners in government, Governor Kathy Hochul, Lieutenant Governor Antonio Delgado, my wonder twin, Senate Majority Leader Andrew Stewart-Cousins, our great Attorney General Tish James, and Buffalo Mayor Byron Brown for being here today. I also want to thank our Assembly Majority Leader Crystal Peoples-Stokes, the members of our Western New York delegation, and in fact, all of my Assembly colleagues for prioritizing this legislation. But I want to give acknowledgement to the members who are here. We have Assembly Member Amy Paulin, Linda Rosenthal, Pat Fahey, Jonathan Jacobson, Chantel Jackson, with the chair of the Baby Caucus, TJ, Assemblymember Kenny Burgos, Assemblymember Clyde Vernell, Assemblymember Udelka Tapia, and Assemblymember Al Taylor. A special thank you to Assembly Members Cahill, Paul and Rosenthal, Fahey, Wallace, Jacobson, Kenny Burgo, Chantel Jackson, Damon Meeks, who sponsored and worked tirelessly to pass these bills in the People's House. And it's fitting that we're holding this today in a place where families should be safe. Our schools should be a safe place. Our grocery stores should be a safe place. Our houses of worship should be a safe place. Our streets and our neighborhoods should be a safe place. And our homes should be a safe place. And after the horrific events in Buffalo and Uvalde, we know we could not hesitate to take action. You know, I did go to Buffalo when the president was there, and it broke my heart that one of the families that I did interact with was the family of the man who was just going to get his son a birthday cake for his 3-year-old birthday. It's just heartbreaking, these stories. And then when we had our press conference in Albany, we keep lamenting how difficult these things are. And just a few days later, Uvalde happens. And at some point, when is enough become enough? But this package of legislation will strengthen laws that we have on the books, help authorities better communicate with our federal partners about gun violence, and work to address the role social media plays in violence and acts of domestic terrorism. But we won't stop here. We will continue working to end the scourge of gun violence so no New Yorker needs to fear going to school or to the grocery store or to a place of worship. But as the governor mentioned, we cannot limit our efforts here in New York. Every time I speak about this, I like to remind us all about this country's obscene fascination with guns. We are 4% of the world's population, but yet we have 66% of the civilian-held guns in the world. Can you imagine that? There's 1.2 guns for every person in this country. So we need to partner with our federal representatives as well. I did tell President Biden when I saw him how we need to deal with the assault weapons ban, and also one of the bills that we dealt with about how people can get really weapons and I'd say uniforms of war. And so those are the things that we need to address. But we're doing the best we can here in New York. But I hate to say it, I know this isn't the last time we're going to talk about it. This isn't the last time we're going to be grieving with families until this country looks itself in the mirror and says enough is enough with guns. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Please welcome to the podium Leader Andrea Stewart Cousins.
Good morning. See how good he was to me? That's why he's my wonder twin. Make sure. It's an amazing time to be able to lead. It is extraordinary to have a community that understands the gravity of this moment. And I am really happy to be here in this Y, in what used to be my old neighborhood. Thank you for hosting us, Sharon. But I'm most happy to be able to be here with my partners in government, to have a governor that understood without conversation, I mean, obviously, that we had to do something and to fight to be the leader so that we could set an example. Thank you, Governor Hochul. And for Speaker Hasty, you know, people talk about one-party rule. Good. Good. If that's what it takes to confront what we know is a public health crisis of our time, good. Nice to see you, Lieutenant Governor. Antonio Delgado, remember that name? just saying. And of course, to be in the presence of my Attorney General, who you will speak to, but that's the other thing. You know, we give her so many jobs every time, like, oh, do this, do that. Sometimes we give her money too. But you know that when you give her a task, again, she understands the importance of it and gets right to it. And we know that if she has to defend us, she will. And she'll win. I heard my Westchester County executive is here, so I wanted to shout out for the home team. There's George Latimer. I'm not gonna let you be here. Yes, I gotta go home. And I wanted to thank Mayor Byron Brown for being here. He showed incredible leadership during a very, very difficult time. I too was able to go to Buffalo, and you know, we all had I was interacting with the daughter of the 86-year-old woman, and it's just unbelievable. And of course, my members, all of my extraordinary members are, you know, well represented here. And again, these, you know, there's never been a Senate majority like this. So please just stand up so people could see you. From Buffalo, Senator Tim Kennedy, Senator Sean Ryan, your own Senator Jamal Bailey, Senator Luis Sepulveda, all the way from Long Island, Senator Anna Kaplan, Senator Brad Hoylman, Senator Brian Kavanaugh, again from Long Island, Senator Kevin Thomas, and holding it down for Queens, Senator Leroy Comrie. What a privilege it is to work with my Senate colleagues and the Assembly members who make sure that when we say go, we go. Okay, Darcel, hi Darcel. I wanted to say that the last time I was in Orange, it was right after Buffalo. And I talked about I wasn't going to wear orange, and did, because that was the color scheme of the moment, because of what happened to the 10 shoppers in the only supermarket in the desert on a Saturday afternoon. And I was talking to the borough president today, Vanessa Gibson, and she said, I'm running out of orange. She says, now I gotta make, you know, color mixes to make it orange. And I said, you know what? I'll wear the same thing over and over again. It's okay. Because you know why? The same thing happens over and over again. I don't have that many orange dresses, but I do know that there has to be a reminder that this is not okay. On the floor of the Senate, when the debate took place, I mean, one of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle stood up and in all earnestness read a letter from a constituent who said that how could we not allow people to buy bulletproof vests? You know, she puts her child in a bulletproof vest to go to school. Is that okay? Is that okay? Do I want to live in a world where with the lunchbox, with the toys that a child might bring, with the crayons, with the backpack, a bulletproof vest? This cannot be where we want to go. And that's why, with the help of all of our partners, you know, our organizations like the Snugs and all of you. We attack it from every single level, not because we think that we alone will be able to stem gun violence, but because we have to send a message that this is not how we will lead our life. This is not the future that we are leaving our children. This is why we pass these laws. This is why we know that we can save some lives and raise the consciousness of others, because we can think, we do pray, but we do not sit idly by. We act, we lead, and if we do this well enough, Congressman Bowman will have support. Senator Schumer will be able to get, as the governor said, people whose hearts for some reason are hardened to melt and to understand that we can create a better place for each and every one of us. So let's sign some bills. Thank you so very much.
Please welcome to the podium Attorney General Letitia James.
First, allow me to thank Speaker Hasty, because this is the building that Carl built. Yeah. And this facility, along with SNUG and all of you who are out there who believe in preventing crime, this will go a long way in preventing gun violence as well. And so we thank you, Speaker Hasty. A graduation party in South Carolina, a Saturday night out in Philadelphia and Chattanooga, a visit to the doctor's office in Tulsa, a child going to school in Uvalde, a trip to the grocery store in Buffalo, praying in a house of faith. These are the normal activities that people and families around the world participate in every single day. But only in America, only in the country that I love, can these basic life activities result in mass bloodshed and devastation because of our fascination, our sick fascination with guns. Some people were shot by AR-15s. Their bodies were so unrecognizable that their family members had to identify them through DNA. Their faces were blown off. Brain matter strewn all about on the streets of America. Some families had to cremate them because they could not recognize their loved ones. So I stand before you today, and I want to thank my governor, Kathy Hochul, Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins, and Speaker Hastings, and the entire congregation, members of the New York State Legislature, for standing up and acting fast and responding to this crisis. Yeah. "156 days into 2022, but we've already witnessed 246 mass shootings in America. And just this weekend alone, 15 people were killed, 60 more were injured, 8 states across the country because of guns, and 1 judge in Wisconsin was murdered. We've all grown too accustomed, too numb to inaction after events like this, and we cycle through disbelief and grief and, yes, anger, only to be disappointed again and again and again when government, no, not government, when members of a feckless, spineless, reckless party known as the GOP I'm from Brooklyn. I apologize. But we all know that New York is different, Governor. We already have some of the toughest gun laws, but in the face of a racist attack in Buffalo, Mayor Brown, that claimed so many innocent lives, New York stepped up again because we said enough. Enough praying, enough empty thoughts. Because we were elected as public officials, as elected officials, to solve problems and to address the needs of people. Prayers alone won't save lives from gun violence, Bishop. And cowardlessness is not a job description and not something that I signed up for. Now, public office requires a backbone and a spine and courage. And so today, New York is acting, and we are taking basic common sense steps to protect our residents as our responsibility and our right. And these new laws today will ensure that we have more robust protections to stop people who pose a danger from obtaining guns. Individuals cannot buy bullet-resistant body vests without a real need and cause. You must be 21 years old to apply for a license before getting a semi-automatic rifle. But as we saw in Buffalo and in Charleston and Pittsburgh and in Orlando and in so many instances, there is a motive that develops first. Fueled by hate and enabled by the dark corners of the internet, social media platforms provide an unchecked vehicle for these dangerous and corrosive ideas to spread. In my office, we are already investigating the role these companies played in the attack in Buffalo. But with these new laws signed today, we will be able to expand our work to study and to address this growing threat. Time and time again, we have seen the real-world devastation that is born of these dangerous and hateful platforms. And we all know that there is no exception, First Amendment exception to hate. But hate plus incitement is where we step in. And we must do everything in our power to shine a spotlight on this alarming behavior and take action so it won't happen again. And yes, my office, we will be ready to defend these laws against any challenges, because the Second Amendment, to all those who think, all those drunk with power who think that they will challenge these laws, let me tell you that the Second Amendment is not absolute. New York will lead. And we are taking steps to crack down on this devastation and the companies that promote it. But action in New York alone is not enough, because guns and criminals don't respect borders. We need our colleagues around the country to step up. And I urge others with a backbone to follow. Lives are at stake every single day, and we cannot wait for another baby, another child, another innocent victim to have their face blown away. Thank you.
Please welcome to the podium Mayor Byron Brown.
Good morning. As mayor of the city of Buffalo, nothing would have stopped me from being here with you today on this very important moment. As Governor Hochul said, for us in Buffalo, this is very personal. We are still hurting, we are still grieving, and we are still in pain from what happened in our community on May 14th. I thank Governor Kathy Hochul, Speaker Hasty, Majority Leader Stewart Cousins, the members of the state legislature, the Western New York State Legislative Delegation for taking strong and swift action to prevent gun violence in New York State. Give them a round of applause. In Buffalo, in the Bronx, in Brooklyn, all across New York State, all across this nation, people deserve to be safe going about their daily lives. They should not have to worry about getting gunned down while shopping on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. Yes, in Buffalo, a white supremacist traveled 3.5 hours to our community with the stated purpose of killing as many black people as possible. But as President Biden said when he came to Buffalo to comfort the families, evil will not win, hate will not win, and this day of action is about making sure that it doesn't win in New York State. Governor Hochul said that we do not want the victims in Buffalo, Uvalde, in Philadelphia, any place else across the country where this has happened to have lost their lives in vain. This package of legislation will make New Yorkers safer, but I am also hoping that it will send a message to states all across this nation, to the lawmakers in Washington, that enough is enough, and the time for real, sensible gun reform at the federal level is now. So this is a critically important day. This is a day that the families of the victims in Buffalo have asked for. This is a day that people's hearts are crying out for. So Governor Hochul, I thank you. I thank our legislative leaders. I thank the members of the state legislature here in New York for hearing the voices of the people, for hearing and feeling the pain that we are feeling in Buffalo and communities across this country that have experienced this kind of mass shooting carnage. Thank you for what you are doing today to make New York safer and to set an example for the rest of the nation. Thank you very much.
Please welcome to the podium, Trinell Gabe.
Good morning. My name is Trinell Gabe, and I'm a fellow with the Everytown Survivor Network. I lost my husband, Carrie Gabe, senselessly to gun violence in 2015. Since then, I've watched the death toll of innocent men, women, and children continue to rise. Across this country, people from all walks of life have been impacted by this public health crisis. As we have recently seen several high-profile mass shootings where 10 people were killed in a grocery store in Buffalo, New York. Last week, 19 students and 2 teachers died in an elementary school in Texas. And on Wednesday, 4 people were killed at a medical building in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And what about the shootings that happened this weekend in Philadelphia and Tennessee? Let us also acknowledge the countless heartbreak of gun violence that takes lives every day in New York and across the country that doesn't make the news. In these moments, our leaders have a choice. We don't need thoughts and prayers from our elected officials. We need policy and change. And New York is leading the way by example today with gun safety measures to honor the lives of those taken with action. Our gun violence crisis is preventable with strong gun laws, and we are incredibly grateful to the New York legislature and Governor Hochul for acting with urgency. Leaders in every state and in the United States Senate have the power to save lives, and this is how you meaningfully respond to tragedy. New York is showing the nation what it means to rally around communities in pain, to honor victims and survivors with action to keep us safe in our communities by preventing future tragedies. Thank you, Governor Hochul and the New York legislature for showing our country what leadership looks like. We look forward to continuing our work together to ensure New York remains a leader in the fight to end the scourge of gun violence. Thank you, everyone.
We are now going to sign some bills. Please remain seated during the bill signing so our photographers can get photos. Thank you. Please remain seated during the bill signing ceremony. Thank you.
We have all 10 bills right here. Yeah, and I have to do a little something like this. Okay. Bills are signed.